Welcome to Life Lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we have a review of the discussions we have been having on King Nimi and the 9 Yogendras. And so this is an opportunity for us to take all of that into account. Repetition, the mother of learning. So we're going to be repeating the lessons that we've learned over the past couple of months as we've been studying this discussion. Actually, it's been a few months, I think 3 months that we've been discussing this pastime. So today, our opportunity to take stock with a review. Let me just chant some prayers of invocation to get us started. And as you arrive, say hello, type a little message in the chat, and then we'll undertake this revision. First Canto, Chapter 2, Text 2. Sutta uvacha yam prabhajantam anapetam apeta krityam vaipayano virahakatara ajuhama putreti tam mayataya taravo bidedus tam sarvabhuta hridayam munim anantosmi. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, Sukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes, his father, Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, 'O my son!' Indeed, only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in response to the bereaved father." Text 3. Yasvanubhavam akila shruti sharamekam adyatmadipam atitir satam tamandam samsarinam karunaya hapurana guhyam tam vyasasunam upayami gurum muninam. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shuka, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyas, who out of great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated it by experience. Let's chant 2 more verses. Text 4. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udhirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. One more verse, text 17. Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Hyabhadrani Vidunoti Suhrit Satam. Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, Supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Welcome, Amayatma Prabhuji, joining us from Christchurch, New Zealand. It is always a delight to see your name and to feel your presence. Shama Manjari, thank you for joining us from South Africa. Thank you for your greeting to me, to all the devotees as well. And Kirtina, joining us from Norway. Welcome. Thank you for being with us. Grateful to have you here. Joining us on Instagram, we have Kapil Joshi and Big Bapu. Big Bapu is a regular for these classes. Big Bapu says, Radhe Krishna. Thanks for joining, Big Bapu. Arti is also a regular. Thank you for being here, Arti. Bhagavatam, also a regular for these classes, is with us. Thank you for being here, Bhagavatam. Mary Manju, a frequent participant. Thank you for joining us. Mary Manju, War is Sick, joining us from New York City. And we have Lalit Saman Sanwadia. Thank you all for your presence. We feel purified by your association. Let's dive in. Our great opportunity today to have a review of the 9 questions posed by King Nimi to the 9 kings of yoga, the Nava Yogendras. Now, memorizing points of philosophy can be complicated. What we have here in the story of King Nimi is nice framing. So it just helps us to remember there were 9 yogis, they had 9, Nimi asked 9 questions, and each dealt with a different philosophical point. So framing with philosophy within a story can be very, very helpful. There are different ways of memorizing mnemonic techniques. One is to remember characters, personalities. Others is to remember ideas based on geography or the layout of a room. Different techniques were developed by the Greek orators to memorize their speeches before they delivered them in public. So with this story, we have an opportunity to memorize 9 fundamental philosophical principles within the framing of, in fact, 2 stories. One story involving Vasudeva and Narad Muni, and the other Nimi and the 9 Yogendras. So let's dive in then and discuss. It's usually we have 3 points to discuss. Today we have 9. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this story, this pastime begins with Narad Muni visiting the house of Krishna's father, Vasudeva. Vasudeva receives Narad Muni and he asks him a question. He said, previously, I worshipped the Supreme Lord and I asked for a son, and now I have Krishna as my son. In my previous life, I worshipped God, I prayed, I got the Supreme Personality of Godhead as my son. But now I really want to inquire about liberation, freedom of the soul from the material conditioning, freedom from material attachment. I want to know about Bhagavat Dharma. And so Narada Muni glorified his question. He said it's beneficial for the entire universe. That's a good question. Doesn't just benefit you, it benefits others as well. And he says, relevant to this question is the example of a conversation between the 9 Yogendra sons of Rishabdev, who once arrived at Ajanaba. That's the place for India before it was called Bharat, so very, very ancient times, when King Nimi, ruler of Videha, was performing the sacrifice. And Nimi asked 9 questions of the 9 yogi brothers. So the first question is bhakti. And the brother, the yogi who answers the question, is Kavi. King Nimi asked, please speak about how one engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Kavi answers, even ignorant people can achieve freedom from fear caused by identification with the material body by adopting Bhagavat Dharma, or devotional service. This is an important point of the Bhagavatam, that bhakti is accessible to everyone. You don't have to be super smart. You don't have to be super detached. You don't have to be a great mystic. Anyone can take up bhakti yoga. Kavi says, according to your nature that you have acquired through your conditioning, you apply your body, your words, your mind, your senses in the service of Krishna. And you think, this is for Krishna's pleasure. You do this under the direction of a guru, and you control your mind, you restrict your senses to avoid those things that are distracting us from Krishna, and adopting or accepting those things that connect us to Krishna. He says you should chant the holy name of Krishna. And by chanting the holy name, one will come to a state of pure love for Krishna. And he says, even that as that develops, you will become attached to a particular name, a particular form of Krishna. And you will come to see everything in relation to the Lord. You will see nothing as separate from him. And this will lead you to respect the entire creation. You will to respect all people, all beings, as an expansion of Krishna's form. And through this direct experience of Krishna and detachment from the idea of enjoyment or sense gratification, and by practicing devotion, you will achieve Krishna's shelter. You'll be fully satisfied and fully happy, and you'll achieve spiritual peace. So that's the first question and first response. What is bhakti? How is it performed? King Nimi then asks about the devotee, the bhakta. Please tell me about the devotees of the Lord. And the yogi Havir answers. He says there are 3 levels of devotees: the advanced devotee, or the Uttama Bhakta, who sees Krishna within every living entity and everything that exists, sees the world as intimately connected with Krishna. Then there's the intermediate devotee, or Madhyama Bhakta, who offers love to God or Krishna, who is a sincere friend of Krishna's devotees, shows mercy to the ignorant who are innocent, and avoids those who are envious, and serves those who are more advanced. And then there is the Kanishta Bhakta, or the Prakrita Bhakta. Kanishta means neophyte, Prakrita means materialistic. The materialistic devotee worships the deity, sees God in the deity and in the temple, but doesn't understand how to treat other people or other devotees. Havir tells us, however, that over time, this basic form or neophyte form of devotion can develop into more advanced stages of bhakti. Let's go to Maya. What is Maya? King Nimi here asks, please explain Maya, the illusory power of Lord Vishnu. And this question is answered by the yogi Antariksha. He says, Krishna creates the living beings with the power to choose Maya, material existence, or spiritual existence. For those who choose Maya, the Lord creates the material world composed of the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, goodness, passion, and ignorance, with various types of bodies. He says, thus the soul gets caught up in Maya, illusion, and trapped in the cycle of samsara, birth and death, moving from one situation to another. And he says, thus the conditioned soul suffers from the beginning of creation until the end, when the Lord again withdraws the material worlds, and the process repeats over and again. So nice answer. Antariksha's explanations reminding us that we have the power to choose our path. We choose Krishna, we choose Maya. And it's not that you make the choice once and you're fixed forever thereafter. Of course, we did make a critical decision at one point, but even day to day, we get to choose Krishna and Maya as we go about our daily lives. Question number 4, Mukti. King Nimi asks the Yogendras to explain how even a foolish materialist can cross over the illusory energy, this Maya. And so the Yogi Prabuddha answers this question. He says, for real happiness, one needs to become liberated from material existence. And this is achieved by approaching an authorized spiritual master and learning the science of devotional service. He learned devotion for Krishna, the Lord who gives himself to the sincere devotee. And then he gives the curriculum, if you remember from that class, what the disciple will learn from their guru. First, to detach from material things and positively attach to practices of bhakti cultivated in the association of devotees. The disciple will learn to become compassionate for those who are less fortunate, to have friendship with peers, and to serve those who are more spiritually advanced. So, in other words, here the disciple is training as a Madhyama Bhakta. The disciple will develop qualities of character such as socha, cleanliness, tapa, austerity, kshama, tolerance, study of the Vedas, svadhyaya, arjava, simplicity, brahmacharya, celibacy, ahimsa, non-violence, and samatha, steadiness. Steadiness amidst the challenges of life. The disciple will learn to meditate, to see oneself as an eternal soul, part and parcel of Krishna. The disciple will learn to have faith in Shastra. The disciple will learn to hear about, glorify, and remember Krishna's transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes. And the disciple will have a daily sadhana of offering everything that is pleasing to Krishna, including one's family and life itself. The disciple will learn to cultivate friendships with devotees who see Krishna as their Lord, to gather regularly with devotees to chant the holy names, to engage in Sankirtan. And these practices will awaken within the disciple's heart prema, love for Krishna. And the disciple will experience spiritual ecstasy even while in this world. So, very nice practical instructions for how we can overcome the Maya, the illusion of material existence, by learning the science of bhakti under the shelter of a spiritual master. Question number 5. Yes, we are at 5 out of 9. King Nimi asks, please explain Bhagavan. Please explain the Supreme Lord. And so the yogi Pipalayana responds. He says there are 3 main aspects of Bhagavan. They are Brahman, or there are 3 main aspects of the Supreme Lord. They are Brahman, the Lord who pervades all states. Paramatma, the Lord who enters the hearts of all living beings as the witness. And Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with whom one can have a personal, loving relationship. Question number 6. King Nimi asks about Karma Yoga. He says, speak about the process of Karma Yoga where one is purified by dedicating one's practical work to the Supreme and lives on a transcendental platform. So the yogi Abhihotra gives a response. He says there are 3 types of karma. Prescribed duties, called karma. Non-performance of duties, called akarma. And forbidden actions, vikarma. And he says you will understand these through proper study of the scripture. Karma, or prescribed duties, involve the Vedic injunctions that lead one to ultimately to liberation, first by practicing morality, religious activities, with promises of material rewards. He says, just like a child is told, if you take the medicine, we will give you candy. In the same way, for the neophyte, the Veda says, if you do this pious act and that pious act, if you are truthful and humble and compassionate and religious, then you will get material, heavenly enjoyment. You'll get wealth, you'll get fame, you'll get fortune. Abhihotra then explains vikarma, or forbidden action. He says, an ignorant person who has not conquered their senses does not adhere to Vedic injunctions, and they engage in irreligious activities. And the reward for such sinful acts is suffering, repeated birth and death in different difficulties in material existence. Finally, he describes akarma. This is, he says, by executing the regulative duties prescribed in the Vedas, but without attachment. So that's nishkama karma yoga. Nishkama, without attachment, karma, prescribed duties described in the Vedas, and offering the results of this activity to Krishna, one achieves the perfection of freedom from bondage of material work. One who is serious in this practice should attain the mercy of a spiritual master who reveals to the disciple the injunctions to properly worship the Supreme Lord in the deity form. So nishkama is the process. You engage in religious duties of the Vedas with detachment. How do you do it? You need a guru to show you the way, and it also helps to engage in deity worship as a sadhana. And you offer everything that you do. You offer your life, you offer your home, you offer your family to the deity. And in that way, your pious life becomes fully purified as akarma, without reaction or non-action. So very nice response from Avihotra to the question about karma yoga. Let's go to question 7. Question 7 concerns the avatar. King Nimi said, please tell me about the various pastimes of Lord Hari performed in the past, being performed now, and those which will be performed in the future in the Lord's different incarnations. So the yogi Drumila responds. He says, actually, it's impossible to describe the unlimited forms, qualities, pastimes of the Supreme Lord. But I will say something of them. We can understand them as the Purusha avatars, the Guna avatars, and Leela avatars as well. In the process of creation, the Lord manifests his universal body out of five elements produced from himself. And then he enters that universal body by his own plenary portion. And he's known as the Purusha. So there are 3 Purushas. Karana Dakashayi Vishnu, who lies in the causal ocean and breathes the universes. Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu, who enters each of those universes, lies in the universal womb, in the water that half fills each of the universes. And from his navel comes the lotus, on which the planetary systems are situated, in which living entities are born. And then he further enters that universe as the Paramatma, or Karanadakashayi Vishnu, who maintains. So next, the Guna avatars are explained. He says, in this process, he manifested the form of Brahma through the mode of passion to create. His form as Vishnu to maintain the universe, and to annihilate. The Supreme Lord employs the mode of ignorance and manifests the form of Shiva. So these are the 3 Guna avatars. Next, he describes the pastime incarnations. He says, an incarnation who is currently performing pastimes is Narayan Rishi. He taught devotional service to the Lord, by which material work ceases, and he perfectly demonstrated its practice. He said, once King Indra became fearful, thinking Narayan Rishi would become very powerful by his penance and seize Indra's heavenly kingdom. And so he sent Cupid with Apsaras to Badrik Ashram to distract Narayan Rishi. Cupid created a very charming breeze of spring, created a very sensual atmosphere, and attacked Narayan Rishi with arrows from the irresistible glances of the Apsaras. And Narayan Rishi understood the offense committed by Indra and his followers, but he did not become angry. From his body, he manifested many women who were astonishingly beautiful. Seeing them, the demigods became ashamed and diminished in their own opulence, and they returned to Indra and told him everything that had happened, taking with them one of the celestials created by Narada Rishi, Urvasi. And hearing this, Indra became afraid, aware that he had made an offense. Other pastime incarnations that Drumala describes are partial incarnations that give knowledge, such as Hamsa, the swan, Nattatreya. We're going to hear more about him in the next chapters. The four Kumaras, the great Rishabdev, the father of the 9 Yogendras, Hayagriva, the horse-headed incarnation, who killed Manu and rescued the Vedas from Patalaloka, Matsya, Varaha, Korma, Narasimha, and Ramachandra, and future incarnations at the time of this narration by the Nava-Yogendras include Buddha, who will, in the future, at the time, bewilder the unworthy performance of Vedic sacrifices, and Kali, still into the future, even for us, who will kill unqualified people posing as rulers at the end of the age of Kali. Question 8. King Nimi says, please explain the destination of those who, for the most part, never worship God. Chamasamuni responds. He says there are 2 types of non-devotees, the Nabhajanti and Avajananti. The Nabhajanti are those who are unaware, there because of ignorance, of the opportunity to engage in devotional service. They have not had the fortune of engaging in discussions about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They haven't had the opportunity to learn, and thus it's difficult for them to engage in Harikatha and Kirtan because they don't have knowledge. So Chamasamuni says, for such people who are innocent because of their ignorance, they deserve the mercy of great Vaishnavas, of great personalities. He says, on the other hand, there are the Avajananti. These are people who are learned in Vedic teaching. They may be Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, or Vaishyas. They've been allowed to approach the lotus feet of the Lord by receiving Vedic teaching and initiation, but they have become bewildered and adopt materialistic philosophies. Because of the modes of passion and ignorance, these materialistic so-called followers of the Vedas become the subject of violent desire. They're excessively lusty. Their anger is like that of a snake. They're deceitful, overly proud, sinful in their behavior. They mock Vaishnavas. They give up the worship of the Lord and instead become dedicated to sex life, meat eating, intoxication in the name of Vedic sacrifices. He says, such killers of the soul are never peaceful. Having turned their face away from Krishna, being under the spell of Maya, the illusory energy, they are forced to enter the darkest regions of the universe. And that brings us to question 9. It concerns the Yuga Avatara. King Nimi asked, in what colors and forms does the Lord appear in each of the 4 ages? What are the names by which by which these forms are glorified? And what are the types of spiritual practice by which these forms are worshipped? So the Yogendra Karvajana responds. He says, in each of the 4 ages, such a traded Dvaparakali, Krishna appears with different complexions, names, and forms, and is worshipped by various processes. In Satya Yuga, he's whitish, and he's glorified by names such as Hamsa, Suparna, Vaikunta, Dharma, Yogeshwara, Amala, Ishvara, Purusha, Avyakta, and Paramatma. He carries a black deerskin, a sacred thread, Japamala, a danda, and a water pot. People in this age worship through meditation by internal and external sense control. In Treta Yuga, the Lord has Rakta Varna, a reddish complexion. He's worshipped by names Vishnu, Yagya, Prishnigarva, Sarvadeva, Urukrama, Vishakapi, Jayanta, and Urugaya. His symbols are the Shruk and Shru, the implements of Vedic sacrifice. And people worship him through the performance of fire yagya, Agnihotra, as taught in the Vedas. In Dvapara Yuga, he appears with a darkish blue complexion. He wears yellow garments. His body is marked with shrivats and other distinctive ornaments. People who desire to know the Supreme Lord worship him in the mood of honoring a great king. And generally, we take this to be deity worship. Finally, in the age of Kali, intelligent people perform Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy name, to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who himself is singing Krishna Nam. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself, and he's accompanied by his associates and servants and confidential companions. It's a very famous verse. Krishna Varnam, Tvisha Krishna, Sango Pangascha Parshadam, Yagnai Sankirtana, Prayar Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. Karbajana goes on to say, those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of Kali Yuga. Because in this fallen age, all perfection can be easily achieved by Sankirtan. He says the inhabitants of Satya Yuga and other ages easily desire to take birth in the age of Kali, since in this age there will be many devotees of the Supreme Lord Narayan who take advantage of this Sankirtan process. So we come to our conclusion. Narada Muni, he says to Vasudeva, having heard about the science of devotional service, Nimi, the king of Mithila, felt very satisfied. Along with his priests, he offered worship to the Yogendras, and before everyone's eyes, the sages disappeared. And Nimi, he applied what he had learned from them, and he achieved the supreme goal of life. So Narada Muni tells Vasudeva, simply apply with faith these principles of devotional service that you have heard, and you'll attain the supreme. He says, even demons who meditate on Krishna with an envious intent were liberated. What to speak of those who fix the mind on Krishna with love? They achieve the highest spiritual perfection. Sukadeva Goswami tells us, anyone who meditates on this pious historical narration with fixed attention will purify themselves of all contamination in this very life and achieve the highest spiritual perfection. So that's a blessing for all of us from Sukadeva Goswami. Let's conclude with a prayer. As I offer this prayer, if you have any questions or reflections, type them into the chat. I wrote this prayer in the last second, so forgive me if there is some issue or fault if I stumble at some point. Beloved Krishna, you who are the eternal source of all wisdom and the sustainer of all beings, we humbly bow before you. As King Nimi sought the guidance of the 9 Yogendras, so too do we seek your divine answers to the deepest questions in our hearts. You have taught us through Kavi that devotion alone can free us from the fear that binds us to the material world. By offering our every thought, word, and deed to you, we are led to the path of true fearlessness and peace. Through Havir, we have learned the way of the Bhakta, that the most advanced soul sees you in all beings while others grow to love you by serving your devotees and sharing kindness to the innocent. From Antariksha, we hear of Maya, the illusion that binds us to fleeting desires. O Lord, grant us the wisdom to choose your eternal truth over the transient temptations of this world. Prabhupada reminds us that liberation comes through the guidance of the Guru, who leads us to pure devotion. Help us to find such a teacher and surrender ourselves fully to the journey towards your divine feet. So we have found such a teacher in Prabhupada and Prabhupada's disciples, but help us to take full shelter of these teachers. Pipalayana shows us your manifold pastimes, your manifold forms, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the transcendental truth manifest in these 3 aspects. We yearn to know you, not just in your impersonal form, but as the beloved Bhagavan who walks with us, present in our lives. Through Avihotra, we understand that Karma Yoga, the dedication of our actions to you. Through Avihotra, we understand Karma Yoga, the dedication of our actions to you. May we perform our duties with detachment, offering all to you as our highest form of service. Drupala speaks of your countless incarnations, your divine descents into the world to protect the pious and re-establish Dharma. O Krishna, remind us that in every age you come to guide us back to you. From Chamasa, we learn of the unfortunate souls who turn away from you, trapped in ignorance and pride. May we always remain steadfast in our devotion and not fall prey to the illusions of this world. And finally, through Karbhajana, we understand the beauty of your forms in every yuga. In this Kali Yuga, you have mercifully appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, leading us through the simple yet profound path of Sankirtana, congregational chanting of your holy names. Help us embrace this divine process with full faith, knowing that in this age, chanting your names brings the highest spiritual fulfillment. Dear Krishna, as King Nimi received these answers with a heart full of gratitude and wonder, so too do we receive your eternal teachings. May we live by the wisdom of the Yogendras, surrendering fully to your will, transcending illusion, and finding our true home in your love. Guide us, O Lord, to the shelter of your holy names, the association of your devotees, and the eternal service of your divine form. May our hearts be purified, and may we attain the supreme goal of life, pure love. Okay, so there we conclude our prayer and turn to acknowledge some of you who joined us after I started speaking, and also to check in on any reflections or questions. So we have Dikunja with us, joining from Auckland, New Zealand, along with Danika. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for joining again, Danika, on your school holidays. And I hope you had a good time at Fiji as well. We have Shamalaki joining us from Chicago. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Kirtina sending gratitude. Shamalaki has a comment or a question. 5,000 years ago, even demons could see Krishna. Why can't we easily do it? Good question. So 5,000 years ago, the asuras, the demons, they had the great fortune of being able to see Krishna. But could they see him? That's a question. So on one hand, they were able to see him. On another hand, they weren't actually able to see him because they weren't able to appreciate this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So their seed was not complete. To actually see the Lord, we need to have premanjana. We need to have our eyes anointed with the salve of love. So seen and actually seen are two different things. We can, let me think of an example. You might see a building and not pay any attention to it whatsoever. And then your friend might show you that building and say, that's the house where I grew up. On the top right-hand window, that's my bedroom. And on the other side was my dad's office. And down below is where my mom used to cook for us and feed us. And she was so caring and loving. Now, when you look on that building, you'll see it entirely differently. You'll see it with love, actually. Love for your friend and the life they lived. And so the same building that you had seen before, you see again in a completely new way. So demons may have been able to see Krishna 5,000 years ago, but actually they couldn't see him. They were not able to see with love. They weren't able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Krishna entered the court of Dhritarashtra and delivered a message on behalf of the Pandavas before the Kurukshetra war, he said, please, let's avert this war, give the Pandavas half of the kingdom, or even just give them 5 towns, or even give them 5 villages to rule. Duryodhana became angry, and he ordered Krishna to be arrested. And Krishna showed everyone there the Virat Rupa, the universal form. And Duryodhana thought it was a magic trick. He said, catch this rascal trickster, imprison him. So even though he saw, he didn't see. He wasn't able to see the Supreme Lord. So now think of our position. What do we see? We get to see the deity, we get to hear the holy name, but do we see and do we hear? That's the thing. If we saw the deity with eyes of love, we will actually see Krishna. And if we hear with ears of devotion, we will actually hear, we will experience the presence of the Supreme Lord. So that access is available to everyone in every time, in every age. It's a matter of, Krishna is there for us. It's a matter of whether we are there for him and able to experience him. So great question, Shabalaki. Grateful for your thoughtful questions. Abhiyama says, Prabhu, are the answers to these 9 questions giving us a summary of the contents of the Bhagavatam, or are there extra teachings here in this canto? Good question. Thank you, Abhiyama. So I haven't read where any of our acharyas say this is a summary of the Bhagavatam. So I can't say definitively, yes, this is the entire Bhagavatam in 9 questions. But I have a sense that it is a wonderful summary of our philosophy. Like all the key points are there. Who is God? Who are the souls? What is Maya? What is the material nature? What is bhakti? How to practice bhakti? What are the consequences of not practicing? It's all there. So it is a really wonderful summary of our teachings. And it reads very similar to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Dasamula. I'm sure you are familiar with Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Throughout his books, he says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made 10 points. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings can be summarized as 10 points, called Dasamula. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur uses this Dasamula as his framework for so much of his writing. Examples. Jaiva Dharma is a conversation between a devotee who's inquiring from his teacher, Babaji Maharaj. And a major section of that book is the disciple being taught Dasamula, the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then there's a book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Lord Chaitanya, His Life and Precepts. The first half of the book is a summary of Lord Chaitanya's life. The second half of the book is his precepts, which is taught as 10 points. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote this book in English, and he sent copies around the world to different libraries and universities. He sent copies to different philosophers as well. Another book he wrote in Bengali is Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, the Nectarian Teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this book also has two halves. One half is the 10 Dasamula, the 10 points of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And the second half is how to apply that living life as a grihastha. So it's basically grihastha, it's varnashram. These are the duties for the brahmachari, who's a follower of Lord Chaitanya, for the grihastha, for the vanaprastha, for the sannyasi. Another book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Bhagavat Arka Marichi Mala. Bhagavat Arka Marichi Mala, if you look at it, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, these are 10 points, the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya and of the Bhagavatam, and then he finds the Bhagavatam verses for each of the points. So it's basically Bhagavatam organized around the 10 points of Lord Chaitanya's teaching. Another book is Dasamula Tattva. So with Dasamula Tattva, he finds evidences for each of the 10 points from the Vedas and Upanishads. You get the idea. Bhaktivinoda Thakur really emphasizes the idea of Lord Chaitanya's teachings being summarized as 10 points. And when you look at those 10 against these 9 questions of King Nimi to the Yogendras, there is a lot of overlap. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Dasamula, which he says is Lord Chaitanya's Dasamula, it's more systematic, and but there's definitely nice overlap in this. So Dasamula is more complete, but yeah, there is a good correspondence. At this stage, you're probably, some of you are wondering, okay, so what is the Dasamula? Bhaktivinoda Thakur emphasizes it so much. So it starts with 1. The Veda is the proper praman, the proper way of understanding, of getting perfect knowledge, because the other pramans are limited. Pratyaksha and Anuman, for example, they are limited, but Shabda, it is perfect. And what is the Veda teaches? 9 things, beginning with 1, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 2, he is so this is the 3rd point, but it's the 2nd point taught in the Veda. So yeah, let's say it's the 3rd point. So he's the embodiment of rasa, that he has relational, he enjoys pleasure, he enjoys happiness in relationships with his devotees. He is the source of all energies, Sarva Shaktiman. And so these energies are spiritual energy, marginal energy, and material nature. Then he says that his energies are, or well, the marginal energy, the living entity, is simultaneously one with and different from him. So I think we're at 5 now. 6, some of these souls, the marginal energy. So the simultaneous one and different, Sachintya Beta Beta Tattva. 5.6, some are eternally conditioned, Nityabara Jivas. And 7, some are eternally liberated. That he says that the next point is that the process of bhakti is that which can free the soul from the material condition. That's the 9th point. And that prema, pure devotional service for Krishna, pure love for Krishna, is the ultimate goal. Prema Pumarta Mahan. So I'm not sure if I got all 10 there in order, but those are, in essence, the Dasamula, 10 points of Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur uses this over and again, and essentially it's like an accordion. You can expand and contract. So you can hang the entire Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy onto these 10 points. It just can be expanded out. Devotional service is the only way by which the soul can be freed from the cycle of birth. What is devotional service? So the whole Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu can be embedded in that point. And then prema is that the highest spiritual attainment. And so that, yes, the last part of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we're describing Krishna's loving relationships with his devotees in different flavors, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, and so on, the exalted position of the Brajbasis and of the Gopis and of Srimati Radharani. So everything can be hung or expanded from these 10 essential points of Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. Some water. Thank you, Abhiyama Prabhu, for that insight. Many years ago, I read this conversation between the Nava Yogendras and King Nimi, and I thought, wow, this is like Dasamula. So I'm glad you had a similar type insight. Is this a summary of all the contents of the Bhagavatam? In a sense, yes. But I haven't heard it stated categorically. But yeah, there is, you can draw that conclusion. Janaki, joining us from Hungary. Welcome. Thank you for being with us. Great to see you. Amayatma is appreciating the prayer. Thank you. I will have it posted later. Maybe a little more editing before I post. Lakshmi Narasimha Priya says, Haribol from UK. Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Nishriga. Thank you for being here with us. So, Kirti Das says, to see means to feel, question mark. Does it, when we were speaking earlier, whether it's actually seen Krishna or seen Krishna. So to see means to feel. Yeah, that's a nice insight. To see means to pay attention, to have some connection, to have some understanding and feeling. I like that summary. To see means to actually feel something. So to understand something and to connect with it and to have a feeling, That's a more deep level of seeing for sure. And in terms of Krishna, definitely to see means to feel, because he only reveals himself to those who love him. Bhakto Sime Saka Cheti Rahasyam Yadan Uttamam. He tells Arjuna, because you're my friend, because you're my bhakta, I can share with you the secret of myself. And so that sharing or that revelation is given. It's never an entitlement. It is only given by the Lord. And to whom is it given? To those who love him. So in that sense, entirely, to see means to feel. To feel means to have, to see means to have been revealed by Krishna. And Krishna reveals himself to those who feel love for him. Thank you for that, Kirtida. And Kirtida's appreciating. Wonderful questions by King Nimi. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, Shamalaki asks, that question was inspired by Srila Gurudev's class from yesterday. There is no option there to ask questions, so I'm thankful that you're doing live Facebook, and we can ask questions to such a devotee. Thank you, Prabhu, for your service and sharing the knowledge and understanding and enlightening us. You're most welcome, and thank you for your questions. I really appreciate it. And we all benefit. Like how the question of Vasudeva was glorified by Narada Muni. This question is glorious because it benefits not just you, it benefits others. And so your questions also benefit me. They help me to think more deeply about what we're discussing. So I'm most grateful. Gaurachandra joining us from Christchurch, New Zealand, says, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Welcome, Gaurachandra. Thanks for being here. Abhiyama says, thank you, Prabhu, for sharing your fascinating and helpful insights. Thank you for your question as well. I'm grateful for these opportunities for association. Kirtina expressing gratitude. Let's check in here with our friends on Instagram. So I've seen a couple of questions here. One by Big Bapu, who says, always a joy and honor listening to your profound discourses and guidance. Blessings be upon you always. Thank you. Do get in touch whenever you're in London. Radhe Krishna. Thank you, Big Bapu. I'm not sure when I'll be in London again, but thank you for that invitation. And our friends from Integral Yoga also sending gratitude and Om. So thank you for that. I think that must be Subra at Integral Yoga NYC. Mangesh says Hare Krishna. And then Mary Manju says, I really like your response in relation to whether we actually see God or not. I'll be pondering upon the notion of perception and how this obscures our ability to be present and see Krishna. Thank you. So yes, back to that point. We only see Krishna when he allows us to, when he reveals himself to us. Otherwise, Maya Javani Kakshanam Ajnanok Sajamavyayam Nalakshase Mudadrisa. Last line is escaping me. Kunti Devi, she says, my Lord, you are not seen by the people of this world. You're only seen by those to whom you reveal yourself. You are like an actor on a stage who may not be recognized by the audience. They think that they're seeing something else other than really who is performing those activities. So only seen by those to whom Krishna chooses to reveal himself. That's why the empirical method, the scientific method, does not apply to see God. Because no matter how much you prod and poke and experiment, Krishna won't reveal himself. He's only understood. He's only Bhaktya Tvananyaya Shakya Ahameva Vidorjuna. Gyatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. In the Gita, he tells Arjuna, I can only be understood as I am by those who engage in devotional service. Only in this way can one enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So bhakti can evoke that grace that is revelation, but we can't force it. It's only to those whom he chooses that that revelation is given. So thank you, Mary Manju. Thank you all. Ramarupa, and look at this. We have Wisdom of the Sages just joined. So Kastuba or Raghunath, thank you very much for your Sangha, for your association. I thank you all for being here. It's an honor and a privilege to share and to associate in this way. Janamamata is with us from Christchurch, New Zealand. Janamamata says, Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sorry I keep missing the live classes, been traveling, but always appreciate tuning in and drinking the nectar. Thank you as always for your inspiring and insightful offerings of love. Well, thank you so much, Janamamata, for sharing with us your presence with your comment at the end of this discussion. We're grateful just to see your name and to remember you. I wish you all well. May you deepen your taste for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. May you deepen in the taste that you gain from chanting the holy name with attention. May you deepen in your appreciation of Krishna's appearance in our lives in his form as Sri Vigraha, who makes our homes auspicious by accepting our services. May you deepen in your appreciation for Sri Dham, the places of Krishna's pastimes, including our temples and centers where the deity is served. May you deepen in your love and affection for Vaishnavas. It is by the mercy of Vaishnavas that bhakti is revealed in the world. And so learning from the Yogendras, may you learn to develop friendships with devotees who are your peers. May you have kindness and compassion on those who are junior to you. And may you take every opportunity to serve those who are more advanced and gain their affectionate blessings and causeless mercy. Through these practices, may your heart soften with kindness and compassion that moves you to share the treasures of bhakti with others. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.